Hello, friends, and welcome to Goblin Talks. Today we're going to talk politics, but not, how you should feel about a politician or what perspective you should come at life from, because really your political beliefs in a lot of ways define the way you think about life. I want to talk about the trap of politicians, the trap of politics. And I think at the core, the trap of politics is assuming that your candidate somehow is a representation of you. In some ways, they are. They're going to express beliefs that you relate to, or maybe there's another candidate and you relate less to the way they feel. But the interaction between those candidates does not reflect your real life. They reflect a process, which is politics. And politics is not how you and I interact. You and I not politicians. That's not how we interact with each other. We're juggling balls, and we might be doing a cascade, or we might be more separate and doing our own thing. We might agree more, agree less, but we're not politicians. We're not out to get elected. And that's the thing about politicians. When you look at them and think that the games that they play represent us or anybody around you that's not a politician, you're missing the point. They are playing a very particular game to get elected. And, you probably want your guy to get elected, and I want my guy to get elected, and that's fine, but that shouldn't define the way we relate to each other. Let me give you an example. Assuming because you don't agree with Bernie Sanders, it's a good idea to think that all liberal people must be handout-seeking, lazy people. That's kind of a weird perspective to come at it from. Of course, maybe Donald Trump would have you feel that way. Maybe even Hillary would have you feel that way. But does that actually make sense? When you look at the data, there seems to be no correlation to wealth and your general belief structure. And in fact, you could go a step farther and say most of the correlation is depending on where you live, you're more or less likely to want to vote for a certain candidate. We could talk about why that is, but I don't think it's really relevant. What is relevant is to say that that matters because we're not politicians. The beliefs that we have are not going to dictate whether we get elected or not. And there's no reason for us to take those beliefs and assume because we believe differently from someone else that they're stupid and lazy. It could be true, they might be stupid and lazy, but their political beliefs probably have nothing to do with how they actually interact with the world. And that, in my opinion, is the big trap of politics. The belief that because I believe in candidate X and you believe in candidate Y, that we are necessarily butting heads together. No, the politicians are necessarily butting heads together because they want to get elected. But you and I, we probably have a lot more common ground than you would imagine if you looked at the politicians who represent our beliefs. At the end of the day, we probably want to do what's best for the people around us. And I think in the case of pretty much all politicians, that's not generally what they're after. They're after getting elected. That's maybe a little cynical. Are there politicians who probably want more good than politicians that want less good? Yeah, certainly. I think that's probably true. But again, I think establishing who that is going to depend on your perspective. So I think that makes it a really hard discussion topic. I think it's a better discussion to figure out what we agree on, and starting from the perspective that we're probably all reasonable humans is a really good place to start. Not from the perspective of the politician where I need to tear down my opponent. That's not a good way to debate things. It's not a good way to discuss and learn. When you start trying to tear down your opponent, you're trying to win something. As humans, we're not trying to win in some sort of discussion between each other. We're both trying to learn and trying to be better people who better understand what's going on around us. So I hope you'll think about that as we go into the primary cycle and electing a president and stuff. Just remember that just because I disagree with you on something doesn't make me a horrible person, and I'm not assuming you're a horrible person. Probably it's more likely the politicians who are the horrible people. Maybe not, but that's probably a good place to start at least. Hope that doesn't make you too mad. I hope you'll come back and see me again soon, and we'll do some more juggling next time, I promise.